Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for stopping by today. Today I am excited to share that I am a part of the Maker Forte design team, and with that is my first video and my first blog post over on the Maker Forte blog. And I'm excited to be sharing some of their new release, which is Christmas in July. And what I'm going to be sharing today are two slimline cards using this beautiful Cathedral Sky die. This is a 5-piece layering die set. And whenever I get dies, especially words and dies that I'm not too sure about how to use them, I always kind of make swatches almost, I guess you could say. And these are really helpful, especially with dies like these, because you can move them around and try and figure out how you want to lay out your design for your card. So these dies are really, you can put them in any order, but I found that it's best to at least put the first 3 in order. And if you aren't sure of which order to place these in, it's going to be the thicker die on the bottom, and then as you go up, the dies will get thinner, and that is so that you can see through and see the pattern. But also on the packaging for the dies, it shows you right here what order is recommended. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I basically stuck with that, except for this card that I am going to do first. I did actually die cut one of the dies twice, and it will be a 6-layer card instead of 5. And this is a really, really beautiful die set. I love the Maker Forte dies because it's almost like they're powder coated. It's not just metal. It's almost like a coating on the dies, and they cut really, really, really well. And so I just really love these dies. There's so much you can do with them, not just for the holidays, but this can be used for any occasion, and it's just a really beautiful die set. So I am going to use for my layers a piece of craft cardstock, and then I'm going to use the Maker Forte Snow Flurries Metallic, and I went ahead and decided on which cardstock I wanted for which layer. To die cut these, I went ahead and I used my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine instead of my Big Shot machine, which is what I would usually use. I ran these through that machine probably 3 times. Normally when I'm die cutting, I run it through at least twice, and so 3 times is not really a lot, especially if, as you can see, this die is pretty intricate. It cut beautifully. And so I'm just going to go ahead and take my magic wand tool and get all the little pieces out. And then these are all of my layers. I added that smallest piece twice. So I added it as the 4th layer and the 6th layer as well. I just wanted a little bit of extra detail, I guess. And then to adhere these, I am using a piece of white glitter cardstock from my stash. And I went a little crazy with the glue, so I'm using my fine line glue, and I wanted to make sure at least the bottom piece and the top piece was glued fairly well, but I just wanted to make sure mainly that I had the edges, because I didn't want the edges peeling up. So I put glue around the edges, and then I went ahead and kind of put dots on some of the other areas, but I did not glue the entire thing except for that first layer. And having some acrylic blocks or having something heavy that you can set on these until it dries is super helpful. But I got all of the layers adhered. And then I'm going to grab some of these simple sayings, and these are called Holidays for All. I used a die from my stash to cut that out. These are foilable. They come in both white or black on white and white on black, and they can be foiled. But I just chose one of the sentiments and I did not foil it. I used a piece of double-sided adhesive, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that to the card. And to add a little bit of bling, I'm going to add some of the Maker Forte Crown Jewel Gems, and I'm using the Rollerskates which is the red, and the Celtic green, which is the green. And so I added a little bit of glue to those areas at the bottom, and I'm just alternating between the red and the green. And that will finish off this card. I really love how simple it looks, yet how detailed, I guess. I wanted to mention that Carrie on the Maker Forte design team has done a video with another layering die from Maker Forte. It's an A2 size, and she has lots of different ideas on how to use the layering dies. And so I'm going to leave her video link below just to give you a little bit of inspiration that can be used for this die set as well. So for this second card, I went ahead and I took some distress spray and salvage patina and a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. I spritzed that on the Bristol Smooth and then added a little bit of water, and then just basically took a paintbrush and painted that color on, and that is the blue portion of the dies. And then I used some white Hammermill cardstock, and then I'm using the stamp set called For You, My Dear. So I stamped it up and then fussy cut it out, and I don't like fussy cutting the middle of things like this. So when it's a circle, it's super helpful to find a circle die in your stash that kind of matches, kind of in the same size as what the circle for the image that you have, and using that to cut that out. It had a little bit more white space than what I wanted, so I did go back in and fussy cut the rest out, but it was so much easier using that die to start it out rather than cutting that fussy cut by hand the whole way, because I'm not that great at that. So I had stamped that one up originally in black ink, I believe, and I thought it was too dark, so I stamped it up in a different color. I think Sandcastle by Catherine Pooler is what I stamped it up, and I just like it better because it's a little more subtle, and I think it goes better with the colors that I'm using. So I'm going to take a piece of that cardstock that I had colored with the salvage patina, and I'm going to start adhering. So the first two layers I adhere with liquid glue because those are the thickest layers, and they're very easy to adhere with liquid glue. But when you get to the smaller pieces of the die cuts, it can be a little more difficult to apply the glue. So I thought for this card I would use some of this artist tack. I love this stuff because it's very good for more intricate dies. And so basically it's a sheet. One side is sticky, and so you just lay your die cut on the sticky side, and then lay the kind of the release sheet on top, and then pretty much burnish it and then peel it off, and then you can adhere it. And I use the same sheet for all three of the dies. It does have a lot of sticky on it, and so you can keep on using it until that runs out. And then to get this reindeer or this deer popped up, I'm just adding several layers of paper to kind of match the height of the die set. And then for the rest of the adhesive, I will be using a little bit of my fine line liquid glue. And when I adhere this, I am trying to put the face of the deer right in that star area. I think it looks really beautiful like that. It almost looks like there's a star in the middle of the antlers. And then I'm using another one of the simple sayings from the Holidays for All set. And then I adhered that, and then I didn't like that it was so thick, and so I trimmed it down so it was super thin, and I think that looks a lot better. I also made a little bit of a bow out of some twine and then glued that down with a glue dot. And then in some of these little spaces I am adding some of the Nouveau gems. And that finishes that card off. Another really beautiful card. Usually I'm not somebody that starts Christmas cards until like November, but I was super happy to have these products to be able to start my Christmas cards this year. So I've got 2 down, and throughout the month I will definitely be making more with the new release, and so I hope you will come back and see me for that. As always, I thank you so much for stopping by today. If you liked this video or found it informative, please go ahead and give a thumbs up. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you next time.